Yeah, thanks so much. And yeah, I always get nervous before speaking. It's just I take it as like just care really deeply and don't prepare enough. So I'm just going to give a little bit of a background about how I got to where I am today, but I really want to focus more on the journey. I got into sport about 10 years ago, and I used sport as a means to heal myself. I came out of quite a toxic relationship, so sport was an enabler for me to reconnect to myself. And I think it's very natural after that journey to start looking at how we can impact others. So I stepped away from competitive triathlon to then break a few world records last year, to use my body as a means to say someone who eats plant-based and can also do amazing things as well. So that's how my evolution continues. And originally, I still wanted to keep using performance as a means to keep opening those conversations of what we can all do individually. And the more I set these targets, the more I realized that I couldn't keep separating my performance over my purpose, because my original goal was to fly to the States and do this race across America, then fly back and swim the channel. And it was just a lot of flying. And I thought, well, is there a way that we can champion ourselves, but also make sure that I'm true to the message that we are in a climate emergency? And so out of this performance-driven mindset, coupled with making sure my purpose and my heart was fulfilled, out came this challenge that I'm now calling the Challenge 3000. And it's a way of, it's what you said, Etienne, earlier, which is the spotlight shouldn't be about the sport. It should be about sport being the vehicle to open up those conversations. So next year, my partner and I intend to cycle 3,000 miles around the coastline of England, Scotland and Wales. We're making our own bikes out of bamboo. We're obviously both plant-based, and we're going to be the connectors to 30 different locations. Laura, I hope you're listening, and planting 100 trees at each of those locations. So it's 3,000 miles, 3,000 trees over 3 months. And the cycling is the piece of string connecting the story to these communities. And the reason I chose to cycle around the coastline is because I call it the red zone. Quite a lot of these communities are going to be directly impacted in the next 5 to 10 years with climate change. The sea levels are rising. When there's a storm or extreme weather, they're the ones who are actually the ones who are greatest impacted. And they are much more closely connected to nature than, say, somebody who lives in an urban dwelling. So I really want to use this challenge as a means to open up that conversation, to learn from the communities as much as going in to help, but to start bringing it as a positive means of explaining that climate change isn't far away. I'm hearing quite a lot when I'm speaking about this, people are saying, well, we don't see it in Britain. I'm like, we do, but we just are disconnected to it because we don't see the biodiversity loss. We think it's lovely that spring has arrived a month early because we can get our shorts out rather than looking at the impact on the environment around us. So it's a positive way of talking about the climate. So I suppose I'm coming here not as a done deal, as very much as a beginner, because we have just announced this, and putting it to the Champions for Earth community, because we want you guys to use our cycle as a means to champion what you care about. We'd love to reach as many communities as possible. We'd love to speak about the importance of urgency, that every tree, every mile, every small action does count. It's not about being 100% zero plastic. It's about if everyone reduced it by 5%, that would have a bigger impact than 1% removing the 100% of the plastic in their households. So how can you guys benefit from this cycle and us visit you and be able to make those changes? So that's pretty much what I wanted to share, but it's about putting our thinking caps on to leverage this, to make sure that we create that community and create the change together, because we can't do this alone. And that's the more I'm realizing in my sport. It's not about competing alone. It's now about connecting to the communities. So everyone get your thinking caps out, your brainstorms, our whiteboards, and let's create something quite magical next year, hopefully.